Hi everybody, welcome to Fred the Show, and I can absolutely, positively guarantee you, we've got a great one today because we've already done it. And I'll explain what I mean by that before we leave. I'm joined by two of the best reasons to wake up and turn on the radio every morning in the upstate, Northeast Georgia, Western North Carolina. Tom Steele is here. Hawk Harrison is here. You know them as Hawk and Tom every morning on B93.7. Guys, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Again. We'll get to that. We'll bury that a little bit further down in the copy.
Right.
Let me ask you real quick. You know, we both are doing this show today after being on the air for about 4 hours this morning.
Right.
We're in a time of year in news. It's not slow. It's slower. Schools are out. The legislature isn't meeting, that kind of thing. Sports is basically spending, the whole time getting ready for football season. For your kind of show, is there a slow time?
Well, probably summer.
When we come back in January, too, like right after all the build up to Christmas, you come back and that first week or 2 or 4, you kind of like say, all right, we'll do some best of last year, fill in with a little of that. And but I mean, otherwise, it's pretty much all year long. It's ratings all year long, so we're working at it.
We don't get away from ratings.
Yeah, we know that. We get to dodge that for a few months here and there, but I understand. Let me talk about, first of all, how you guys got in the business. I want to hear each of your stories.
Go ahead and tell your story about being afraid to talk on the radio for 6 months.
Well, and that's the truth. It was a 3,000-watt station, Sparta, Tennessee. It was WSMT. And the guy said, the owner, he said, look, I know you might be a little uncomfortable, but you just talk whenever you're ready. And so about 6 months later, he said, you're on radio. You need to start talking. So it's Bill Austin. A shout out to him. He gave me my start in radio. And then I went on and worked in Nashville, and that's where Tom and I met. So it started for me in a 3,000-watt station in my hometown.
I started in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was actually in college at David Lipscomb University getting a degree in engineering physics. And my dad worked at NASA. I was supposed to go work at Kennedy Space Center with him. And my senior year, I'd been in the same classes with the same 10 guys for every class. And all of a sudden, one of my buddies, he was working for a radio station in Nashville, Tennessee as an intern, and he had to drive this old fire truck they had as a station vehicle. And he said, I told him I know how to double clutch, but I don't even know what that means. Can you help? Because he knew I was a car guy. Yeah. So I started hanging out with him, and I'm like, wow, you get to meet girls at this job. I mean, this is fun. So I ended up starting off there, and next thing you know, a few years later, Hawk and I, working in there together, ended up as partners here.
Well, and roommates. We've been roommates for years.
Not now, though.
Yeah.
Finally had some separation.
Yes.
How did this team come together, and how did you wind up in Greenville?
Well, Hawk actually came here first.
Yes. I came here... I got fired in Arizona, and I'm glad because it's different out there. But came here with a guy named Marty. A lot of people even still remember Marty for the first 2 years. And then
Rub it in.
Video is distracting.
I know, sorry.
And then Marty had to leave because he had some family issues going on. So, Tom and I had been roommates, and I said, hey, let's try this out. Let's go ahead and try a radio show together since we argue at home so much, which is actually not true.
Well,
you know what? We don't argue until we get in the studio.
That's true. It's funny because we were actually not together yet, and he flew down to Florida, and we did a tape together.
Yeah,
an
audition.
We fought like cats and dogs making that tape.
And we haven't stopped fighting since.
I'm pretty sure sales thought we wouldn't make it more than 6 months because their office was right across from ours, and after the show, we'd come in yelling about what each other had done wrong and how it needed to be different, and somehow it's worked out to be a good chemistry regardless.
Well, we're like brothers at this point. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I can't get rid of him.
I understand that. Now, did you come here and start the show, new town, everything like that? Did you have a plan how you were going to be different in the market, or did you just jump in and do your thing?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I think that we didn't really look at the market and say we're going to be different than this, but we had a mentor. His name is Mark Chase. He was our boss in Nashville, Tennessee when we started. And he taught us to basically get out there and try to be outrageous and have fun within boundaries, of course. And we just learned from a very creative person to be creative. And so we came in with a lot of those ideas.
Yeah, we've worked with a lot of great people in the industry that are well known around America. So they taught us a lot. And they gave us room to mess up, too. Because I was like, hey, get on there, mess up. And we have.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned mentors, and you both mentioned about your starts. You know, Tom kind of came in a little different way. Were there any broadcasters, either radio, TV, media, back when we were all younger, that you were inspired by in any ways?
Okay. Yeah.
For me, this is really aging myself, and it's stupid, but Benny Hill. I grew up loving Benny Hill. I loved that slapstick humor, but it was a little bit clever too, a little ribald sometimes. But I really did enjoy that kind of humor growing up.
Well, and my mentor, and Tom knows this, Coyote McLeod was in Nashville, Tennessee. I listened to him when I would go to school every morning, and I'm like, I'd like to do that. And funny enough, I got to work with him, and he was a mentor. And many of the radio disc jockeys that we have talked to over the years, Gary Burbank, Cincinnati, he did a lot of good crank calls and stuff, and you kind of take all those ideas and you form your own. Like that's where Thelma kind of came from, is just, hearing crank calls and like, okay, I think I can be an 83-year-old woman.
And that obviously has worked over the years. Okay, I want to get to one of the things you talk about a lot as far as being different, and it happens every Tuesday. Where did the idea for Torture Tuesday come from?
That's been there, like, just because we thought if we could just get some names, like, for days, certain days, and we thought, well, we'll go with Tuesday, a Torture Tuesday. And we started just throwing out ideas. No idea was bad, but there were a lot of bad ones, too.
Like that one.
Yes, and Cato, when I first came here, he was a producer for that station, and I'm like, we're going to form this morning show. Will you like ride in an air dryer, like a dryer at a laundromat, or will you do this? Will you do that? And he said, sure, I'll do that. And now, since then, he's like, I wish I wouldn't have signed that contract.
But we knew doing this kind of stuff. We were doing this before the group Jackass had their TV show.
Yeah.
We were doing this before a lot of the YouTubers today do the stuff they do. But it was on the radio, so a lot of it was theater of the mind. We did video as much as we could, but as you can see, we tried to do just about anything we could that was humorous, fun, still good for a family to be able to listen to, and just got people up in a good mood.
Yep.
Did you ever do something that or have plans for something that management said in advance, no, you can't do that?
We always ask
never
for
told
forgiveness.
management what we were doing ahead of time.
We do it, and then we get in trouble, and we're like, I'm sorry.
We've gotten in trouble for a lot. We set off fireworks in the boss's office. Of course, the infamous blindfold driving incident.
Yeah, that's Tom he was going to go to jail for that one.
I got in a lot of trouble for that.
Can we hear the details on that?
So we were actually looking for something quick and easy, and we had read that Ray Charles had driven a car, even though he was blind. So we decided to put a blindfold on me. Cato, the torture was him having to ride in the passenger seat and telling me when to stop or when to go.
Yeah.
Now, the truth was, if you've ever stretched fabric out at all, you can see through it pretty well.
Yeah.
But we sold it too well because people were calling 911 saying there's a guy driving down 385 with a blindfold. It's, oh, the children, oh, the humanity.
Yeah. And they stopped him on Haywood Road.
Yeah.
And it was like 7 police cars just swooped in.
It was crazy.
Oh, yeah. It was super crazy. And I'm sitting back at the station going, oh, no, what am I going to do?
I was in the police car wondering what I was going to do.
Yeah.
But I ended up doing community service as payment for my bad deeds. And so I planted a lot of the trees in Reedy River Park, believe it or not.
They're beautiful, too, by the way.
We have you to thank for that. That's
You
the
do.
good news. That's the good news.
We were actually parking or pulling in. There's a little parking space on Academy, not far from the Peace Center, the Bilo Center.
Oh, yeah.
The well.
The well.
Yeah.
But it's a little parking lot that no one probably ever used for anything. And sure enough, I was like, I planted those trees. I worked on this parking lot.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Well, I do have to bring up another thing that goes along with Torture Tuesday, and it's probably two of your highlight clips. And we've named this particular one, Hawk and Tom Are Tough on Vehicles.
Yeah.
Whose idea was the golf cart?
It was a group effort.
Well, we didn't think. Okay, so here's the thing, and we got to thank the gang at Carolina Springs.
Yeah, they only made us pay for the battery,
Yeah,
which was a lot of money.
yeah, that was interesting. We didn't think it would sink. We just thought it would go in and
Well,
stop.
we didn't think Cato would pick a pond that deep.
That's
Oh.
true too.
We thought it would be like,
yeah.
up
puddle?
to his ankles or something. We
Yes.
didn't realize it was going to disappear.
It's still funny to see the video.
But they did. They said we've got to get a new battery for this, so we
Yeah.
cut them a check
now,
for
that's
like $800.
fireworks right there. And,
Yeah.
Now this was a junkyard car from
July.
Williman Towing, and we did this. We said we were going to do it, and the fire department came out in advance and said, "You're not doing it unless we're here to watch over things." So we want to thank them because we didn't even get
really
in
touch
think
with
it through.
them. They heard about it and they said, "You're not going to do this." So we need to really think about some of these before we do.
There's the professional firefighters stepping in.
Yes, they actually
yeah.
ended up putting the fire out in the vehicle. And the thing what we didn't think of was we're like, oh, these fireworks are not going to hurt Cato. It's not that big a deal. But the
Yeah.
smoke inhalation
Right.
was tremendous.
Oh, that's
they,
right.
They had to haul him out of that thing. During that smoke, you don't see it, but there's a fireman
Mm-hmm.
coming in to pull him out of that car.
In most of his stunts, he has this sound he makes. Does he still do that? It's kind of like the
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of. I mean,
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he's done so many crazy things, and we still try to think of him every week, coming up with some really, and even, Tom and I will step in too sometimes.
Yeah,
just-
we have done them, and some of them are real lighthearted and fun. This week we did toe wrestling.
Yeah.
So everyone
that.
got involved, and turned out Tori has much stronger thighs than the rest of us, or toes, or something.
Yeah.
Did not see that coming. But sometimes they're lighthearted, they're fun, they're easy. Sometimes they spiral out of control, and we get in trouble. And we try to keep that at least within the realm of intelligence.
We try to keep it down to about 10 meetings with the boss each year.
Yeah.
that's a nice round number.
And that's
maybe
the
about
worst
once
thing.
a month.
Well, I'm sorry?
That's about what? Maybe once a month. Maybe.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's like, and the worst thing is like, hey, after the show, can you guys come down here to my office? And we've heard that so many times.
And more than getting in trouble in anything, it's that look of disappointment of like, really? You haven't learned this yet?
Yeah, but it's fun. You know what? We do it for the upstate. It's not about us, what we can do for you. So we want to entertain you.
You put your bodies out on the line, and we do
Yeah.
we do appreciate that.
I'm actually crying on that video. That's funny. That's fun stuff.
The golf cart one, that's what a great water vehicle.
Oh, I've blown myself up with fireworks. One time, my wife said she woke up and turned on the radio, and she hears I had a helmet with firecracker straps on it.
Oh, no.
And she's like, "Oh my God, my husband is blowing his head off, for this stupid show."
Well,
so.
and a disclaimer, and we got to say this: kids don't try this at home or anywhere because we are trained idiots, and we have been.
Go to the best.
Yeah.
Tom, you mentioned it. Your wife woke up and heard that, and you guys have 4 hours. You can talk about a lot. You talk about a lot of your personal experiences. How much of your home life are you able to bring into the show?
Too much.
Yes.
Yeah. The only thing I'm real careful about is trying to make sure my kids don't get drug into this in a way that's too embarrassing for them. I mean, I think it is embarrassing having their dad on the radio, period.
Yeah.
But I don't try to drag their personal stuff in if I think it's going to cause them to be embarrassed or ashamed. So far, they haven't screamed or yelled about too much. So either they're not listening or I'm okay.
Well, when the kids come to you and say, "Hey, can you go kill my character off your show?" But they hear it though. You got to be very careful because people at school. They're like, "Hey, I heard your dad do something stupid this morning."
Well, that's okay. But when they say, "I heard your dad talk about you this
Yeah,
morning,"
that's
that's when you want to be careful.
Yeah.
I can see that. We are talking with Hawk and Tom from B93.7. We'll have more of Fred the Show in just a moment. And we're back with Tom Steele, Hawk Harrison, as we talk about the Hawk and Tom Show every morning on B93.7. I've always wondered about how, of course, you guys have been on the air, 27, 28 years?
Yeah,
have we figured out?
Yeah, we just celebrated our 25th birthday, and we had a lot of fun with that.
And we got into radio when we were 7.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Start doing the math on that.
Yeah.
And I can think of some things that I used to do on TV when I was in sports, when you had a lot more license.
Oh, yeah.
How has it, you've gotten older, your perspectives change when get married or have children or that kind of thing. Maybe society changes. Are there things that you look back and say like, oh, I can't believe we did that? Or do you just say like, if you're offended, that doesn't mean you're right?
For me, at this radio station, no. I feel like we've always had a family-friendly attitude. We think of a mom with her kids in the minivan driving to school. We don't want to offend anybody. And also our spiritual life leads us not to be, something where it's going to be offensive. But I was much younger when I was in Tampa, Florida, and probably I did some stuff there that I should be embarrassed of for sure. And,
well, you live and
learn. You grow older and you
Yeah.
learn, all right, because when you're young, you just see the world through your eyes. You don't get the chance to see it through others.
You feel the same way, Hawk?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, you're not the same person you were 10 years ago. Now, I will say this too: society has gotten a lot more sensitive about things that we used to could laugh about, even if it's about us.
Yeah.
They're like, you shouldn't say that about yourself, and I'm like, that's funny.
Do you self-edit before you say something maybe more than you used to?
You try to.
We get in trouble though. I mean,
Yeah.
because it's all live. All of it's live, and you're sitting there and you're going, okay. And then about 2 seconds after that, you're like, I wish I would have not said that, or I should have said this.
I got called out for something the other day we were doing, and I brought up a very old historical tragedy, and they were like, it's too soon. It's too soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always try to figure out the expiration dates on those. By the way, you mentioned them a little bit earlier. I want to bring them in real quick. This was a contest that you had with Cato and Tori. Tell me what they do to their show besides Cato sacrificing his body.
In this case, he just had to eat a lot of sugar, but we had the fruit roll-up challenge. And again, Tori, she beat us in toe wrestling. Now she beat us in this too. She's very competitive.
Well, and they do have other responsibilities. Cato is our producer. He gets everything and takes care of everything, interviews, stuff like that. He does a lot of the social media stuff for us. So he's having to post the video about himself.
And Fred, you mentioned we do things that are embarrassing for our kids. I'm pretty sure this would qualify.
Right, yeah. But both of them contribute so much to the show. It's like, and we look at it as a family in there too. I mean,
Right.
Tori's like a little sister, Cato's another brother, and we just have fun.
Yeah, we're just going to hang on the video just for a second to give Tori her moment of
There she
triumph right
goes.
there. There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That was more difficult than I thought, because I thought it would just start rolling back, but it was hitting my, that hangy thingy back
The
there.
uvula.
Yeah, the Chevy uvula back there.
Yeah. You've had a chance to talk to a lot of famous people over the years. Do you have a favorite guest Jake got a chance to talk to?
Woo, man, we've had
That's tough. I met Mick Jagger, which was
Whoa.
huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, you don't ever think you're going to meet someone like that. But I don't know if he was my favorite person to talk to. He was fairly quiet.
Bon Jovi was funny because I asked him, I said, how big is your house, John? And we've interviewed him several times, and he's like as big as a mall. And I said, do you have one of those signs in there? It's like, I am here. And he started laughing. So we've had him. We've
Steven
had
Tyler.
Oh, Steven.
Oh,
all
wow.
the big rock stars. We've had Britney, Pink, Justin Bieber's.
One of the reasons I mentioned Steven Tyler is Hawk loves to always ask him if we're on a phone interview, or even in person, he'll say, how much cash do you have in your pocket right now?
Which is, not
and
as much
Steven
anymore.
Tyler was the one who had like over $800
Yeah.
in cash at the time. So he was our winner for who has the most cash on their person.
We-
most of them are like, oh, I got credit cards. I don't worry about that.
And we crank call, like the Jonas Brothers, they're buds, so we crank call them as Thelma, and she wanted tickets to the show, and we had his private number, Kevin's number, and so he's like, how'd you get this number? It's like, they just gave it out on the radio, because this old lady's calling them going, can you get my little Julia into your concert for free?
That's brilliant.
And he's like, who did that? And then we told him, and of course, they've not let us call him since.
I understand. By the way, I do want to do some full admission here. The reason I know this is a great show is that we actually did this show about 2 weeks ago, and somebody didn't exactly have all the mics going, so you guys were kind enough to come back. So I really appreciate it, but it leads me into my next question, because Tom revealed this when we talked the last time. You did get in some sizable trouble with a relatively big deal news celebrity?
Oh gosh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Bill O'Reilly. So Bill O'Reilly used to be a much bigger deal than he is now. He was on Fox News, if I can say that, and he was actually a celebrity. We had gotten his phone number, so we gave out on a contest. We said, hey, if you call this person, figure out who they are, and call back first, you win this prize. Well, unfortunately, we thought he was a big deal, but most of our listeners didn't seem to know who he was from his answering machine. And his wife was at home, and she freaked out because all these people were calling. So we actually have a letter from them saying, hey, fire these guys. That's the only way we'll settle this. And our company had to come back and we ended up paying a $10,000 out of our own pockets.
Yeah, not our company. We
Payment
had
to
pay
the
for
charity of his choice just to keep our jobs from that. So that was one of those where we got forgiveness later, and we definitely learned to be more careful about what we did.
Oh, there's rules, FCC rules and stuff you can't say and do and give out phone numbers.
But I don't think we had broken any of the FCC rules, but
No.
it was one of those where it upset enough people that we learned our lesson the hard way. That was very early in our career.
Oh, okay. Okay. You learned so much more since then.
Yes.
You have your phones now. Who's the most famous contact in
Well,
your cell phones?
Jonas Brothers, Edwin's on there, of course, we got others. I mean,
I'm not
Tom,
asking you
if
to
have your
call
phone.
them right now.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned J-Lo.
You have J-Lo's phone number.
Yes.
Well, I
That's
don't know if
from,
it's it.
well, it may not be there anymore, but
Yeah.
it used to be her phone number because we called it a couple of times. But that was because she gave it to us. We did an interview with her, and it was a cell phone. I'm sure she's probably no longer using that phone.
And we know some of the the executives in the industry that are with whatever record company, Atlantic or whatever. So
Yeah, a lot of
it's
times
a
we don't
small
get these
circle.
celebrities' direct number, but we call the executive, and then they're like patches through and things like that.
Yeah.
So, but we have the access to some of them, but it's not something that you really use much because if you did, it's kind of like they're not going to like it if you call
They're
them
going to
all
change
the
the
time.
number.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're very respectful of those.
I understand.
And the connections that you make throughout, because we've met so many people throughout the years.
We're all on that morning routine. What is your morning routine?
I get there first, just to let you know.
He does.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason to get up any earlier than I have to. I mean, I know the job. I know what I'm going to. Generally, we know what we're talking about, or we figure it out in the first hour, and I'm not too worried about coming in at 2 a.m. just to sit and stare at a computer
Well,
screen.
I've got to wake up. So it takes me an hour to wake up, get my coffee in, feel energized, and Tom just kind of walks in talking.
That's true.
Are sometimes, and we say that here a lot, does the best material not go over the air? The stuff that
Wow.
goes on during commercials.
You know, we're
Oh.
pretty good about bringing that in.
Oh, good.
We'll be like, hey, you're not going to believe what we were just talking about during the song or the commercials, and then we talk about it.
Well, sometimes. You can't.
Most of the time we do,
Sometimes
though.
you can't, though.
Well,
Because,
if it's not
quite
fit for
frankly,
radio.
Tom, he shares too much. He's the TMI guy. He says stuff on the radio, and I'm like, did he just say that in
I
front
just
of
don't see the need
hundreds of
for
thousands of people?
having a filter for stuff that everyone talks about and knows about. It's part of life. It's not like, unless you're just being vulgar to be vulgar.
Tom, you
or
got to admit, though, you go overboard.
I don't agree.
We're generating a possible battle here in our remaining minutes
Yeah.
with Hawk and Tom. What's a great show when you get done and you say, like, we really got it today? What happens?
Wow, that's when we're hitting on all the cylinders and everyone's thinking of a funny line and answer. And some days you just feel like everyone stepped up and one person made a great line and then the next person, they were even funnier, and then you ended on a big laugh and you're thinking, man, no one could beat us today. But then you have the days where you go in and everything feels like it falls flat and you're just like, we're the worst show ever.
Well, you have the rainy days with the sunny days, and I'm sure you have the same thing, Fred. You know, you get on there and you're like stumbling or you're bumbling or you're saying something you shouldn't, and you're like, you drive home, you're like, man, I hope tomorrow's a sunny day.
Yeah. Hey, has social media been good or bad for radio?
I think it's been good. I think it's helped us with a lot of those things that, like the Torture Tuesdays, being able to let people see them has been tremendous. Now, on the other hand, watching what we're doing right here, you understand why we're on the radio and not TV. I mean, we got faces for radio, but it's definitely created more work for us, but I think it's been good overall. What do you think, Hawk?
Well, I guess if you want to talk about the social part of the visual stuff, but, obviously it's easier to listen to, music somewhere else. So that's where it's kind of been bad.
I don't want to ask about when you might be thinking about, using the R word as in retire, because I don't even like to think about that.
No,
No.
never.
But
Never.
what is it that keeps you going every day and avoid getting into the trap of coasting?
Wow, I fear getting every day and just laying in bed and having no reason to get out of it. I'm that kind of person that if I didn't have a motivation, I'm afraid I would just turn into a blob.
He already would on the couch playing video games.
Having stuff to do gives me a purpose, and this job, it's a lot of fun. I mean, you go in, you're with 3 other people that are a lot of fun to be around, and you're having conversations, and it's 4 hours of, I'm not digging ditches, I'm not, in the hot sun. It's a great job. I want to do it until I can't.
We always say it beats working, and you cannot wait. Because, you live your life, you go to the grocery store, something happens there, you're going to share that the next day. It's like, I cannot wait to share this. And so your anticipation of, it's almost like Christmas, like, I cannot wait to tell this story to the upstate. Because this is going to be, I think it's funny, and then you tell it and there's crickets.
Yeah.
That's the bad day.
That's the bad days.
But
you
it's
have
so much
way
fun.
more good days than bad, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Hawk Harrison, Tom Steele, thanks for being with us. I want you to come back a third time. And we would love to have you back again. But thanks for everything you do. And I feel the same way as you do. And we're going to be doing this for a long time.
Oh,
There we
thank
go.
you.
We love being here. Thanks for
All right, Hawk and Tom, thanks for being with us. That is Fred the Show. We'll see you next time here on WSPA Plus.